Now, we're not the only ones who love edibles from the garden. So to protect your prized produce, we need to look at solutions that will keep the bad nunus and hohos at bay. There could be nothing more frustrating than growing your apples, your pears, your macadamias, any of your citrus, and have them decimated by certain insects. Now, there, of course, is the big movement, and I'm in full agreement with it, to reduce the amount of chemicals that we're using. And we've been introduced to a really amazing company who have been using this actually in the agricultural sector for years and years. And finally, it's been introduced and available to us gardeners. What it is they use the science behind the insect's movement, behind what they do, how they function, between the color waves that attract them, and use that very smartly to create little shiny things, so distractions. So in here, all you're going to do is take out one of the sticky traps. It's got a sticky side on both sides. Place it onto one of the little pegs, or you can simply hang it low down in the veggie garden or any of the plants that you're wanting to protect. The blue and yellow sticky cards are really a simple way to monitor and to get rid of the thrips, which is the blue side, whiteflies, leaf hoppers, and aphids, which is the yellow side. These insects are specifically attracted to the yellow and the blue in this specific hue, which is the wavelength that is then being created on these cards. It does mean that your beneficial insects are not going to be attracted to these. The blocks are divided so that you can then, once it's been in the garden for approximately a month, you would then remove it and you can basically multiply it out and have a look at what the insect infestation is. One of the biggest silent problems, especially with fruit, anything coming into flower, is the false codling moth. Now, the interesting thing is that this little guy operates at night. So there are different stages to the life cycle. Unfortunately, the time that we generally get to notice it is when it's, yeah, you guessed it, too late. So preventative is always the way to go. Now, guys, the false codling moth, the female comes up during the night, only between 5 and 11, as dusk settles. It's brown, it's really very, very small, very indescript, comes along, lays the eggs. When those eggs then hatch, of course, you've got all these little larvas, and that's where it all goes wrong. As they then start maturing, they're eating their way into the fruit, and that, of course, causes damage and destruction. Once those guys have had their feed and their tummies are full, they then go into the next stage where they actually drop into the soil, and that's where it then forms a little cocoon and finishes its life cycle, and you guessed it, out of the soil emerge the male and females, ready for the next cycle. The cycle can be completed 4 times within 1 year. So let's find a way that we can kind of circumvent this. We can just chop this little life cycle happening. It's called the delta trap, which you will hang around your trees. And remember, it's important to keep it quite high up, because obviously that's where the moth is going to fly up to then find the leaves where she can lay her eggs. And of course, the males come into play at this point. So the pherolure is basically a pheromone, which the males look for. The males are looking for the female moths so that they can then, create and form the life cycle. And then, you got it, they then get stuck on the sticky trap. But in that way, we're breaking the cycle. And that is probably one of the smartest ways that we can control false codling moth in the garden.